So the approach you take depends on which aspect of your career that you don't like. I hate my job, what do I do? So today I'm going to talk about what you do, what you can do if you find yourself hating your job, being miserable in your job, and you wanting a change. So chances are, if you are watching this video right now, you are feeling a whole host of emotions. Maybe you're frustrated or disappointed, maybe even angry and in disbelief. Now, I'm not going to say that you have to tough it out, because you don't. And life is too short not to love what you do. And you have a choice. I mean, you always have a choice. But the best way to give yourself the best chance of making the choice for yourself is to ask yourself the right question. Because it's all a matter of making the best choice for yourself and your future. The first step is to really get to the core of exactly why you hate your job. And to do that, what I recommend is going 5 levels deep. So what that means is that you start to ask yourself the question of why you hate your job, and you keep asking why 5 times until you go 5 levels deep into the core of what it is that you actually hate. Now I'm going to give you an example. Let's go through an example of a role play of what this might look like. So let's say your first question is, why do I hate my job? And your answer is, I hate the company I work for. Then the next question, second layer deep, would be, why do I hate the company? And let's say your answer is, because I don't like the boss. And then so you go third layer deep, what is it that you don't like about your boss? And then your answer could be, well, because of the way he manages the company, it creates a culture where people are not motivated by what they do, and so they're putting out work that is not high quality. So then you go 4 layers deep, what is it about the culture that you don't like? And then your answer might be, well, it doesn't allow me to work at my fullest potential, which is what I want to do. And then your 5th level deep is, why does that bother you? What is important about that? And it comes down to the 5th layer deep is, well, I value integrity, I value high quality, and my values just aren't being met. So you see how important this first step is, because it uncovers the root of your problem on exactly why you hate your job. Because just simply saying I hate my job is very broad and very vague until you get to the core root of the problem of exactly what you hate about your job. By using this 5 layers deep step, then you can uncover what it is that you have to address. You see how this gives you clarity on many different levels. First of all, it gives you clarity on whether or not it is the company you hate, whether or not it's the industry you hate, or whether or not it's a personnel issue, a culture that you don't agree with. But more importantly, it gives you clarity on whether or not it's the job function, the function or the role that you don't like. And if it's the company that you hate, then it further helps you clarify whether or not it is systems related, whether it is personal related, or whether it's both. And second of all, it helps you to figure out which one of your core values is not being met. And in my example, it was the value of high quality. Comment below, what have you learned? And do you hate your job? And if so, have you figured out if it is the job function, the company, or the industry that you hate? Now, it's important that you have clarity, and that amount of clarity on all these levels, because the next actions and the next steps you're going to take are going to depend on it. So for example, if you figured out that it's just the company that you hate, then it's just a matter of changing your workplace in the same industry. But if you like your company and your feelings of hate are really associated with a key individual or a person within your company and it's people related, then it's just a matter of managing your work environment. But of course, if it turns out that you're fed up with the entire industry, then it's a matter of building your career in a new direction. If that resonates with you and you're thinking, yes, I do need to build my career in a new direction because I'm fed up with the industry, or you're thinking that I just need something new because this industry, I've exhausted it and I just want to try something new. If that's you and that's what you resonate with, I invite you to my career intensive. And this is a 21-day career intensive where it will help you step by step to build that framework and the blueprint so that you can know every single day how you can build your career in a new direction. So visit careerrevisionist.com/intensive to find out more. And the link is below, careerrevisionist.com/intensive. See you inside. So the approach you take depends on which aspect of your career that you don't like. And you can think of each of these as assets. The company that you work in, the team that you work in, which includes your direct reports, any managers or supervisors that you work under. All of these represent your team. the customers that you serve, or the customers that your company serves, which in essence are the customers that you represent, the marketplace that your company is trying to compete in. All of these are, you can think of them as your career assets. So when you say, I hate my job, it's not likely that you hate every single one of these assets. So figuring out which asset, which is the one that you don't like, then that's where you adjust your approach accordingly. But no matter what, you do have to prepare to have those difficult conversations, both with yourself and the powers that be. But before you speak up, I recommend that you make sure that you're in a better headspace so that you can have these conversations as a high-performing individual rather than a victim of job dissatisfaction. Once you have a very high level of clarity and self-awareness, then you can start to consider your options. And sometimes the best option is not to quit your job, especially if after some reflection you realize that some of your feelings of hate towards your job are actually reparable. Then it's just a matter of coming up with an approach on how you can alleviate those stressors. But of course, if the reasons run a lot deeper, or if the solution doesn't seem possible, or even if you're not motivated to do something about it, or if you don't have the resources, then you might want to consider leaving. But no matter which direction you do go, and whichever you do decide, it's important that you go through this whole process with a clear head, having separated fact from emotion, and also with a heart of service, knowing that even if you are taking the steps to consider leaving, that you're still putting your best work all the way through. Difficult. I'm tongue-tied.